Hello viewers, I thank God for an opportunity to speak on effective communication. Now I want to ask you a question as you listen. Have you ever wondered why we communicate to each other? Now I'll give you a response immediately. I will not give you time to respond. It is because we are victims of our senses. When we see, when we hear, when we smell, when we touch, then we tend to talk to each other. We communicate. Now the question is, what is communication? Communication is a two-way process of successively conveying information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, opinions, values, and actions between two or more persons, either verbally, that is, spoken or written word, and non-verbally, using a medium. About 80% of our communication is estimated to be non-verbal. It is therefore important to consider and understand non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication refers to gestures, signals, appearance, behavior, tone and pitch of the voice, body movements, eye contact, posture, facial expression, and even physiological changes such as sweating. We can therefore understand other people better by paying close attention to their non-verbal communication. A message can be clearer if the sender ensures that the words used and the body language are consistent. Now, question again for you. Do you know what really causes relationships to fail? Is it finances? No. Is it differences in age, education level? No. Is it infidelity? No. I'd like to challenge your thinking and say it's not even that which you're thinking about. Most times we hinder communication by, number one, judging other people, which involves imposing our values on another person and giving solutions to their problems. When we judge, we don't fully listen to what someone else is saying because we are too busy assessing their appearance, the tone of their voice, and the words they use. This type of communication may convey to the speaker that their feelings, values, and problems are not important. For example, sometimes we can be very critical, e.g., sometimes we rarely appreciate anyone for anything they do. Other times, during our talk, there might be excessive or inappropriate questioning such as, where did you go? What did you do? Who were you with? While other times, it is about finishing sentences for the speaker. While other times, we reassure the audience by saying, it is all right. It will work out. This may make a person feel better, but it does not deal with the problem. We may also be in the habit of sending solutions, thus interrupting before the speaker has finished, or giving our ideas of a solution before being asked. In all this, you'll notice that the party is avoiding the concerns of the person speaking. Hence, the individual's feelings and concerns are not taken into account. Thus, more emphasis is put on facts while feelings are avoided. Notice all the above can be irritating for the speaker. This can also prevent you from transmitting the speaker's original message. It can also encourage the speaker to become dependent on you to solve problems for them. Or it can deny the speaker the opportunity to practice decision-making skills. Therefore, be willing to avoid judgment. Try to understand and not be critical. Don't display shock or any alarm or disgust with other family members' comments or observations. Don't react violently. There is a possibility for better understanding. Let a common ground for personal decision be developed. Note the words of Jesus in John chapter 8 and verses 11, where he says, "Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more." These are words that are just as gentle and as effective today as when they were first uttered. Do we communicate this to our family members? Notice that ineffective communication can result in personal and professional dissatisfaction, loneliness, conflict, and fallout from peers in social, family, and school and work settings. It can also, over time, diminish an individual's level of self-esteem and increase feelings of hopelessness and their dependence on others to make and resolve problems for them. It can also make an individual's ability to cope with difficult issues much harder. Now, how can one communicate effectively in a family setting? How we listen to others and what we say and don't say can strengthen or damage our relationships. Too often, what we try to communicate gets lost in translation despite our best intentions. We say one thing, the other person hears something else, and misunderstandings, frustrations, and conflicts ensue. But we can improve communication with everyone by working on our communication skills that can enable us to effectively connect with others, build trust and respect, and feel heard and understood. Communication is more than just exchanging information. It is about understanding the emotion and intentions behind the information. It is also about how we listen to gain the full meaning of what's being said and to make the other person feel heard and understood. Effective communication combines a set of skills including nonverbal communication, engaged listening, managing stress in the moment, the ability to communicate assertively, and the capacity to recognize and understand your own emotions and those of the person you are communicating with. Effective communication is the glue that helps us to deepen our connection to others and improve teamwork, decision-making, and problem solving. It enables us to communicate even negative or difficult messages without creating conflict or destroying trusts. Have you ever felt like you communicate with everyone else except your family members? I think the principal reason why we fail to relate appropriately with family members is because we fail to apply some basics of personal communication. In the book of Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 16, it says, "And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices, God is pleased." Communication in the family will often be a sacrifice because we are expected to use our time, our means, our talent, and our patience to impart, to share, and understand. Too often, while with our family, we use communication periods as occasions to tell, to dictate, to plead, and sometimes to threaten. So communication in the family should never be used to impose command or to embarrass anyone. To be effective in any communication, including family communication, there must always be an exchange of feelings and information. Doors of communication will swing open in the home if members realize that time and participation on the part of all are necessary ingredients. In family discussions, differences should not be ignored at all, but they should be weighed and evaluated calmly. Courtesy and respect in listening and responding during discussions are basic in proper dialogue. As we learn to participate together in meaningful associations, we are able to convey our thoughts of love, dependence, and interest. When we are inclined to give up in despair in our efforts to communicate with other family members because they have failed to respond, perhaps we'll do well not to give up, but rather to gently pursue our conversations. We can disagree with another's point of view without being disagreeable. I like what John Stevens wrote. He said that I have learned that the head does not hear anything until the heart has listened, and that what the heart knows today, the head will understand tomorrow. Family communication can be effective if members have, number one, a willingness to sacrifice. Be the kind of a family member who is willing to take time to be available. It takes personal sacrifice to communicate when conditions are right for the other person, e.g., maybe after a date, maybe after someone has been hurt, or maybe during a victorious thing, or a disappointment, or when someone wants to share something confidentially. We must be willing to forgo personal convenience to invest time in establishing a firm foundation for family communication. Number two, be willing to develop the ability and self-discipline to think of other family members and their communication needs ahead of your own by having a willingness to prepare for the moment. Number three, shed the very appearance of preoccupation in self and learn the skill of penetrating a family member's shield of preoccupation. It can be very sad if your child one day said, "Mom or Dad gave me everything except herself." Too early and too often, we sow the seed of, "Can't you see? I am busy. Don't bother me now." When we convey the attitude of, "Go away, don't bother me now," family members are apt to go elsewhere or isolate themselves in silence. All family members on some occasion or other must be taken on their own terms, so they will be willing to come, share, and ask. When communication in the family seems to be slowing down, each individual should look to himself for remedy. Remember that true love and understanding for another is not just sharing of words. It is about the wise sharing of emotions, feelings, and concerns, and it is the sharing of oneself totally. That is about commitment. The book of James chapter 3 verses 13 says, "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness and wisdom." Now, strong families will spend time together. No, quality time with each other is of essence. Studies on strong families indicate that both quality and quantity time are necessary for good relationship formation and maintenance. Family memories are built around family activities and time spent together. Note that when you plan for time together, it is important to set the stage. The location, setting, or circumstances should be comfortable, private, and conversation conducive. A story is told of a young girl who had a ride in her dad's car all by herself for a couple of hours. The dad, who was a fan of music, did not put on his music in the car during their whole journey. She excitedly said, "All Daddy did was listen and talk to me." She had her daddy all to herself in a setting she will never forget soon. Let the stage be set whenever the need is there, and let the stage be set wherever the other person is ready. Number 3, there should be a willingness to listen. Listening is more than being quiet. We should be available and listen when someone needs to be heard. When you listen, display signs of involvement by adopting an open body posture. Maintain a comfortable eye contact and display facial expressions and other body signs that indicate your interest in what the other person is saying. Ask relevant questions which allow for more of a response than yes or no. And also make minimal prompts like yes, etc. Listening is a sign of love. Often, parents communicate most effectively with their children by the way they listen and address each other. We could learn to communicate effectively like parents to their babies, not only by voice, but by tone, feeling, glances, mannerisms, and total personality. Too often, when we are not able to converse with a family member, we wonder by saying, "What's wrong with her? What's wrong with him?" instead of wondering what might be wrong with my methods. The book of James chapter 1 verses 19 to 20 says, "So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God." Number 4, there should be willingness to vocalize feelings. It is important to voice one's thoughts and feelings, e.g., You sound happy, you sound irritated, you sound angry or anxious. Thus, being able to converse at the level of each family member. Too often, we are inclined to letting family members assume how we feel towards them. In the book called The Secret of Staying in Love, the writer shared a very touching experience of how his father died while he was supporting him on a hospital bed. He then disclosed the sad news to the mom. The mother surprised him when she suddenly said that she was glad that the father died in his hands because he had always been so proud of him. She continued to say how much he loved him. To the son, the words were like a sudden spillway of light, like an astounding thought he had never absorbed before. Yet there was a definite edge of pain, as though he was going to know his father better in death than he had ever known him in life. When the doctors came to verify the death, the young man was leaning against a wall in hospital, gently wiping his tears off his eyes and face. Suddenly, one doctor came over to him and put a comforting arm around him. It was difficult for him to talk through his tears, but when he spoke, he said, "I am not crying because my father is dead. I am crying because my father never told me that he was so proud of me. He never told me that he loved me." Note that this young man was expected to know the great part he played in his father's life and the great part he occupied in his heart, which he was never told. The book of Matthew chapter 3 and verses 17 says, God took time to verbalize his feelings when he said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." This is a very powerful communication. Have you told any family member how much you love them? From this story, we realize that love is at the heart of family. Love is the close personal blending of physical and mental togetherness. It includes privacy, intimacy, sharing, belonging, and caring. The atmosphere of real love is one of honesty, understanding, patience, and forgiveness. Such love does not happen automatically. It requires constant daily effort by each family member. Love takes time, affection, and a positive attitude. John 15 verses 12 says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." Along with our need for love, our other most important human need is the need for appreciation. The reason we work so hard in life is not much about money, power, or position. It is the desire to feel appreciated. And appreciation is vital in healthy families. Each family member's self-esteem is enhanced when he or she feels appreciated. Appreciation helps motivate all members to continue to behave positively towards each other. Number 5, avoid imposing your values on others. If we learn to deal with issues without involving personalities, and at the same time avoid bias and emotions, this will bring about effective family communication. Be willing to practice patience. Patience in communication is an ingredient of conduct we hope others will exhibit towards us when we fail to measure up. Our own patience is developed when we are patient with others. A certain writer said, "Be patient, be sober, be temperate, have patience, faith, hope, and charity." Many times we hear the statement, "I get sick and tired of listening to your complaints." And I have told you 1,000 times, this indicates that patience is gone and channels of communication are plugged. It takes the grace of God to communicate patiently. We constantly need to express pride, hope, and love for each other on most sincere basis. Each of us needs to avoid coming through as one who has given up and has become totally weary in trying. Avoid correcting or shouting to a family member in front of others. Much more notice is taken in quiet and private conversations. Calm endurance is a priceless virtue in one's relationship with all family members. When we fail to understand the basis for proper interchange, the words we speak will be unheard, unwanted, and resisted. Proper communication will always be the main ingredient for building family solidarity and permanence. In conclusion, I would pray that the Lord will help us to communicate more effectively in our homes through a willingness to sacrifice, to listen, to vocalize feelings, to avoid judgment, to maintain confidences, and a willingness to practice patience. In the book of Job, chapter 6, verses 25, it says, "How forceful are right words! Indeed, how forcible are right words shared at the right moment with the right person." May God help me and may God help you. God bless you.